If you recall, I said last week that Ezra believed that God was in charge of results. He knew it was his job to seek God's will, to do God's will, and to be faithful to teach God's will. To drive that point home, I want us to watch this little video.
Jesus, I have decided to give you this.
Really?
Yeah.
You know whoever sits here makes all the decisions, right?
I know, and I'm always making decisions, but you make the perfect decisions, so you just sit right down and start making them.
Wow, I'm honored. I mean, this feels great.
Kathleen, guess what? I just got my new credit card. It's time to go shopping.
Oh, really? I thought your husband and you were going to pay off debt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, money's kind of tight, but I figured he doesn't have to know about it. So do you want to go with me?
No.
No?
Why?
What I mean is, I don't know. So let me check my schedule, and then I'll get back to you.
Okay, yeah, give me a call.
Okay.
Kat, what's going on?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm kind of one cheeking it here. Look, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. You wanted me to sit here, right?
Well, of course.
And whoever sits here makes all the decisions?
Right.
So what's the problem?
There's not a problem. I don't know what I was thinking. Really, please, here, sit down.
As long as you're sure.
I'm sure.
Okay, so let's start over.
Okay.
All right. Kat, I noticed that you've been losing your temper a lot lately.
Right.
So-
Okay, Jesus, you know what? I know what you're going to say, but, see,
You do?
you don't know the whole situation, you know?
Oh, well, all I'm saying is that your attitude is a decision.
Yes, of course, but I have a lot going on right now.
Well, I know you're under a lot of pressure.
Pressure? Jesus, you don't understand pressure, okay?
This isn't working, Kat.
What?
We can't both sit on the seat. It's either me or it's you.
Okay, I know. You know, I didn't think it was going to be this hard, but here, just take it.
No, I'm not going to take it. You have to give it to me.
Okay, here.
Kathleen, make a choice.
I can't.
You just did.
You just did. Is Jesus in charge? Or is he not? 1 Corinthians 2:16 in the Contemporary English Version says, the Scriptures asked, has anyone ever known the thoughts of the Lord or given him advice? But we understand what Christ is thinking. The only way to know what Christ is thinking is to put him on the stool. Let him actually make the decisions. Let him be the one to be in charge. Well, after Ezra and his men fasted and prayed and got on the same page with God, they recognized their own weakness. That usually happens. Have you ever noticed the people that really think they're spiritual? Sometimes it's just talk. When it comes down to brass tacks, they still want to call their own shots. They still want to do what they want to do, but they got on the same page with God. Suddenly they realized, man, we are weak. We are weak. Ezra says, I was ashamed to ask the king, King Artaxerxes that would be, for soldiers and horsemen to protect us from the enemies on the road. Because we had told the king, the gracious hand of our God is on everyone who looks to him, but his great anger is against all who forsake him. I love Ezra's integrity here. You know, he didn't think more of himself than he should. You know, but he was rethinking these words that he was speaking to King Artaxerxes. He wanted God's name to be exalted. He wanted to explain the testimony of who God is and how powerful he is. And as a result, he did speak of God's power before the king. What's striking, though, about verse 22 is the candor with which Ezra admits what he had done. You know, it was like he came before the king and he didn't want to say, can you send us protection? Can you send us some soldiers to keep an eye on things? Because it'd be like admitting, oh, God isn't really who I said God was. But he did speak of how powerful the Lord is. You know, to admit shame is to admit human weakness. Ladies, you probably don't have a problem with this. Guys, you probably do. To admit human weakness. Most men don't show emotions easily. Still others, because of ego, don't want to admit that they're just as weak as everybody else. But we're all the same. We're all the same. I found this story that I thought was just unbelievable. In 1960, Israeli undercover agents orchestrated the daring capture of one of the most heinous of the Holocaust masterminds, Adolf Eichmann. After capturing him in his South American hideout, they transported him to Israel to stand trial. Their prosecutors called a string of former concentration camp prisoners as witnesses. One was a small, haggard man named Yahil Dinur, who had miraculously escaped death at Auschwitz. On his day to testify, Dinur entered the courtroom and stared at the man behind the bulletproof glass. The man who had murdered his friends, personally executed a large number of Jews, and presided over the slaughter of millions more. As the eyes of the two men met, victim and murderous tyrant, the courtroom fell silent, filled with tension at the confrontation. But no one was prepared for what happened next. Yahil Dinur began to shout and sob, collapsing to the floor. Was he overcome by hatred? By horrifying memories? By the evil incarnate in Eichmann's face? No, he later explained in a riveting 60 Minutes interview, it was because Eichmann was not the demonic personification of evil that Dinur had expected. Rather, he was just an ordinary man, just like everyone else. And in that one instant, Dinur came to a stunning realization that sin and evil are the human condition. I was afraid about myself, he said. I saw that I am capable of doing such things just as he. Well, Ezra and company wanted clear direction. And in verse 23, we see that they were not presumptuous with God. So we fasted and petitioned our God about this.